Tonight on Y News, Supreme Court Associate Justice Antonio Carpio agrees with Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana that Chinese ships should turn on trackers when entering Philippine waters. The Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office vows to study systems and procedures of other gaming schemes following President Rodrigo Duterte's decision to lift its suspension on Lotto operations. The Senate Blue Ribbon Committee sets to probe the PhilHealth anomaly. Malacañang says it is open to making Dembaxia vaccine usable again if it will address the rising cases of dengue in the country. And Manila Mayor Isko Moreno shuts down an amusement center in Recto for allegedly operating illegal gaming machines. Good evening. Supreme Court Associate Justice Antonio Carpio agrees with Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana, who has earlier said that Chinese ships' automatic ID system should be turned on when entering Philippine waters. Mai Bermudez will tell us why.
The Chinese warships crossing the Philippine territory without the government's permission prompted Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana to flag foreign vessels that were sailing through Cebu Strait. The strait is an internationally recognized shipping lane near the islands of Manuk Mangkao and Simunul Islands, which are parts of Tawi-Tawi. Based on several reports, Chinese crew turn off their tracking systems called the Automatic ID System or AIS, which monitors movements of vessels in the area. For Supreme Court Associate Justice Antonio Carpio, this surreptitious passage should not be permitted by the Philippines.
It's very stealthy if you do that. So I agree with the Secretary Lorenzana. I think that should be the rule worldwide, that you should not turn off your AIS if you're passing through.
Under the rule of innocent passage, foreign vessels may cross through a continuous and expeditious straight line, but should not loiter within our waters. Foreign Affairs Secretary Teddy Locsin, through a social media post, confirms that a diplomatic protest has been filed in relation to the swarming of 113 Chinese fishing vessels without notifying the Philippine government around Pag-asa Island, something Justice Carpio has thumbed up.
Good, because we should keep on protesting that. Otherwise, that's an implied admission that we allow them to do that, and we should not allow that.
Mai Bermudez, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The Lotto game resumes today after President Rodrigo Duterte lifted the ban last night. However, the operations of other PCSO gaming schemes remain suspended for further review. Arlene Delgado explains why.
The draws for the Lotto game that were missed since the closure of Lotto operations last Saturday began today. According to Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Officer PCSO General Manager Royina Garma, the game has been proved to be very transparent. That's why President Duterte agreed to lift its ban. The PCSO says it lost 250 billion pesos worth of revenues during the 4-day closure.
Kaya nga namin ipinasok, ni-request yung Lotto kasi nakitaan namin na wala nang dapat baguhin kasi malinis siya, okay siya.
We checked some of the Lotto outlets in Quezon City today. This system of this Lotto outlet in Cubao Main Avenue was already running, except for the Easy 2 Lotto game.
Yung selling natalad pa po sa Easy 2.
The PCSO add they will now focus on reviewing the implementing rules and regulations or IRR of its other gaming schemes, namely Kino, Peryahan ng Bayan, and Small Town Lottery or STL. According to the PCSO chief, they will look into the possible discrepancies in the collection and remittance of revenues from the STL. She says, however, they cannot confirm if corrupt officials really exist within their ranks, as she has yet to look into the matter. She admits she personally talked with President Duterte before the closure order to help them solve the problems in the agency, particularly those that involve contracts.
Kung yung mga taong perhaps involved noon, saka na lang po yan, hayaan ko na lang po yung mga investigators to do their job. It's not mine anymore.
Striving for transparency, the agency says they will further publicize their turnover of checks to different local government units and government agencies as part of their mandatory contributions. It also launched the official Facebook page of the PCSO General Manager called Ipaalam kay GM to encourage the public to report complaints. Harleen Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue, Mandaluyong City.
Malacañang stands by President Rodrigo Duterte's decision to order a temporary ban on all gaming and gambling operations franchised under the Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office or PCSO. The president issued the directive in a special message on Friday due to alleged corruption. On Tuesday night, however, the president, through Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea, lifted the suspension of all Lotto operations after investigators found no irregularities in them. Not included in the lifting of the suspension are the other gaming activities such as Small Town Lottery, STL, Kino, and Peryahan ng Bayan pending the result of the investigation of illegal activities and corrupt practices related to them. Nevertheless, the palace maintained there is no reason for the president to apologize for his decision to suspend Lotto operations despite millions of losses it incurred by PCSO as well as by local Lotto operators and employees.
The work of the president is heavy enough that they should understand that it is his duty to do that, to erase any and all doubts on the regularity of these operations.
Sir, so no need to apologize, sir, even to ordinary?
Certainly none.
Sir, isn't it proper?
Presidential Anti-Corruption Commissioner Greco Belica confirms they are conducting investigations on the officials of the Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office or PCSO. These include former General Manager Alexander Balutan and other former PCSO officials since the start of President Rodrigo Duterte's term. The president had directed to stop the gaming and gambling activities of the PCSO due to alleged massive corruption. But he lifted the suspension of Lotto operations last night after investigators found no anomalies in the conduct of its operations.
Kasabay po nun, kami na rin po ay nag-initiate na motu proprio ng lifestyle check sa lahat ng opisyal ng PCSO. No one exempted, no one will be spared from the top down.
The minority group in the House of Representatives seeks probe on the alleged corruption in the Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office and in the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation. Grace Casin tells us why.
We have to get to the bottom of these charges of corruption.
House Minority Leader Bienvenido Abante Jr. filed House Resolution number 141, which directs the lower chamber of Congress to conduct an investigation into the closure of more than 20,000 PCSO gaming outlets in the country. The lawmaker wants to know the present operations of the PCSO as well as the root of corruption in the agency. The scrutiny also aims to find out which officials are involved in irregularities. The PCSO officials, on their part, say they're willing to cooperate in any investigation.
We are open on everything. Everything, we're gonna open it to any person na i-assign to investigate po.
The minority group also wants to investigate the alleged anomalous spending of the PhilHealth's fund due to the issue of ghost claims in the state of health insurance. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
Senator Richard Gordon is interested in scrutinizing the alleged anomaly in the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation or PhilHealth. Nel Maribuhok explains why.
Senate Blue Ribbon Committee Chairman Senator Richard Gordon will seriously consider investigating the alleged irregularities in PhilHealth. According to the senator, he has been receiving complaints of corruptions happening in the state insurance.
Kuminsan hindi naman nanggagaling sa ospital pero uudyo ka, hindi ka na babayaran kaya dagdagan mo yung sisingilin mo. Kaya dumalaki ang sunog. Kaya hindi dapat biruin yan dahil pera ng tao yan.
The committee will also look into the issue of conflict of interest hounding Health Secretary Francis Duque III. The senator adds he will also invite Duque's siblings who are part of a company which allegedly gained a number of contracts from the government.
Titingnan natin yung degree na yun. Anong ginawa niya? Kung may lumapit sa kanya, boss, kapatid mo ito. Ay, bigay nyo na. Ay, hindi tama yun. Talagang tatamaan siya doon.
The Senate Blue Ribbon Committee may begin the probe next week. Nel Maribuho, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
Manila City authorities raided today an amusement game center in Recto Avenue that operates illegal numbers game machines. Here's April Senedoza to tell us why.
The special mayor's reaction team were smart in Manila City have found out that an amusement game center inside Isitan Cinerama Complex and Recto Avenue operates illegal fruit game machines. This prompted authorities to raid the establishment, which has led to the arrest of 10 people, including 6 bettors, 2 operators, 1 minor, and 1 student.
Punta lang ako dito, magpalibang lang, tapos papasyal, uwi na. Galis trabaho.
May idea po. Pero i-effort yung trabaho po kasi yung number 1 na namin eh. Kaya nanahimik na lang po.
Smart raided the establishment through a search warrant and surveillance video dated July 17.
Ang business permit nila is only amusement arcade. So wala siyang betting. Yung token gagamitin for gaming. Pero wala siyang betting. Ito may betting because yung amount na lumalabas is peso to peso. May mga slot machine and fruit game na kung saan yung token kinukonvert to peso.
Following the raid, the city government of Manila closed down the said establishment.
Oh, this is like casino without Pagcor franchise.
The Bureau of Permits added the game center misdeclared the number of slots in their business permit.
So all in all, meron silang 78 slots. Pero sa permit nila is only good for 15 slots. Yung permit na binayaran nila, hindi po tama. Kulang po.
The violators will be liable for violating Presidential Decree number 1602, which prohibits illegal gambling. April Senedoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Welcome back to Y News. We pick up to where Angelo Castro III left off. I'm Alex Baltazar, and here are the headlines. The Department of Health conducts investigation on the death of a student and the hospitalization of 7 others in Surigao del Norte after receiving deworming medicines. Malacañang says it is open to making dengue vaccine usable again as long as it addresses the surging cases of the dengue in the country. Negros Oriental Police Provincial Director relieved from post over spate of killings. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority postpones the dry run for the implementation of the provincial bus ban on EDSA to August 7. And Manila Mayor Isko Moreno Domagoso is eyeing to place a freedom wall around the Bonifacio Monument to curb vandalism. Good evening. 1 student died while 7 others landed in hospital beds after a deworming activity for school children in a school in Surigao del Norte province. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
The Department of Health or DOH has ordered the suspension of deworming of students in all schools in Surigao del Norte province. This was after the death of 1 student in San Isidro Elementary School in Gigakit Town hours after taking the deworming medicine. 7 students were also brought to a hospital after undergoing deworming last July 23rd. According to Health Undersecretary Eric Domingo, the batch of the deworming medicines given to the students in the school have been brought to Manila for examination. The DOH is expecting the release of the result of the examination on the medicines used for deworming this week.
We're trying to look into it more deeply lang to check kung walang contaminant or kung walang anything na toxic substance na na-take.
The DOH emphasized that parents' consent is needed for their children to be immunized or dewormed in their schools. They must also ascertain that the children's health is in good condition before any immunization or deworming. The National Health Deworming Month is a twice-a-year campaign of the DOH, done in January and July. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or NDRRMC, explained on the slow relief response in Itbayat, Batanes. Aside from the delayed transport of relief goods, the victims have not undergone stress debriefing up to this time. Leia Ilagan tells us why.
Transportation to Itbayat is a big challenge, especially after the moderate quakes. This is what NDRRMC spokesperson Mark Timbal pointed out after Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana commented on a slow relief response for the victims of the disaster in Batanes province. Timbal added that even C-130 aircraft can't land on Itbayat. They can only fly until Basco, the capital of Batanes. The relief goods are then transferred to a smaller plane to bring the aid to the affected areas on Itbayat Island.
May timeline kasi na gustong masunod si Secretary Lorenzana. Gusto niya, kumbaga mismong day 1 or within the next 24 to 48 hours after the earthquake, ay nakapagpadala na ng tulong si National. In reality po, nakapagpadala tayo kaagad ng search and rescue teams at nakapag-deploy ang local government and provincial government ng relief support within the first 24 to 48 hours. Ang pinuntuhan kasi ng butihing Secretary Lorenzana ay yung medyo natagalan ang pag-deliver ng national relief items mula sa Clark.
Based on the latest data from the NDRRMC, 9 died, 64 are reported injured, more than 200 houses are damaged, and 47 million worth of establishments are destroyed following the series of earthquakes and aftershocks. Stress debriefing is important to help survivors of a calamity to recover from natural disaster trauma. But the victims of the earthquakes last Saturday have not undergone stress debriefing until now. The NDRRMC spokesperson explains they are prioritizing the transport of relief goods for the affected residents. He added that doctors from their psychosocial department who will conduct the stress debriefing have been scheduled to fly to Itbayat.
Yung ating psychosocial support sa akin pong huling pagkarinig sa mga kasamahan natin from DOH and DSWD, naka-standby na po sila ready for deployment. Ang priority po kasi natin ngayon is to provide the relief support.
Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue, Camp Aguinaldo.
The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or PHIVOLCS, accounts that it has taken decades for the island of Itbayat in Batanes to experience a moderate magnitude of earthquake. Ray Pelayo details why.
The islands in the extreme northern Luzon, where the municipality of Itbayat and other islands of Batanes are located, were once a part of the seabed before. Department of Science and Technology Undersecretary and PHIVOLCS OIC Renato Solidum says this is noticeable through the composition of the soil on the island.
Kaya doon sa Itbayat, ang makikita mong mas maraming bato doon ay limestone. Ang limestone ay galing sa corals na namuhay sa ilalim ng tubig. Kaya lang napapaangat ito dahil sa pagkilos ng fault.
Last July 27, a series of moderate earthquakes rattled the Batanes province, where Itbayat is located, with magnitudes 5.4, 5.9, and 5.8. 4 years ago, an intensity 5 earthquake was felt in the area. PHIVOLCS says it has taken 60 to 70 years before Itbayat experienced an intensity 6 earthquake. Solidum says most of the damaged structures are made of limestone materials. Although such structures can withstand typhoons, it's a different story with the shaking of the ground. Some of the damaged structures also seem to have been built without steel.
So dahil ang limestone ay madaling matunaw o naaagnas habang tumatagal dahil sa ulan, nagiging marupok ang limestone.
In 2013, a magnitude 7.2 earthquake jolted Bohol. Structures like chapels were among the severely damaged. Aside from being old, the chapels were also found to have been partially made of limestone. Ray Pelayo, UNTV, News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The number of dengue cases in the country continues to rise this year, according to the Department of Health. Because of this, the National Dengue Alert is still activated across the country. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
Dengue is considered as a global health issue in 2019 because of the cycle of dengue virus infection that rise every 3 years. In the Philippines alone, the number of dengue cases continues to spike.
2019 worldwide is really shaping up to be one of those high burden years for dengue.
Based on the latest report of the Department of Health, there are more than 130,000 dengue cases from January up to the midweek of July 2019. This is almost twice the number of the listed dengue cases in the same period last year. More than 500 of the total number are death cases.
Dumadami pa rin ang cases natin and nag-activate naman na tayo ng regional health clusters ng NDRRMC.
The National Dengue Alert is still activated across the country because of the rising number of dengue cases in regions experiencing an epidemic level. These regions are Western Visayas, Calabar Zone, Sorsogon, Northern Mindanao, Central Visayas, and National Capital Region. The DOH continues to remind the public to remove stagnant water to prevent dengue-carrying mosquitoes from breeding, maintain cleanliness of the surroundings, and prioritize the protection of children against dengue. This Friday, DOH officials will meet the 17 regional directors to ensure dengue problems are addressed properly. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Malacañang is open to the proposal of the return of dengue vaccine to address the dengue outbreak in the country. This is the response of the palace when asked about the statement of former Health Secretary and now Iloilo 1st District Representative Janet Garin that a high number of dengue cases in the country could have been prevented if the dengue vaccination campaign was not stopped. But according to presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo, this idea should be thoroughly discussed and experts should support the call for the return of dengue vaccine.
We're always open to anything that will benefit the Filipino people. We're not close to any suggestion.
Former Health Secretary and now Iloilo Representative Janet Garin says there is no new strain of dengue virus. This is contrary to the information from the Department of Health. The lady lawmaker said it was in 2010 when they knew about the new strain of the dengue virus. She calls on the DOH to stop spreading wrong information that causes fear to the public.
Hindi ko po alam saan nanggagaling yung mga pronouncement na yun ng Department of Health. Sa buong mundo, wala pong bagong strain na dengue virus na nadidiskubre. Kung totoo na yung cause ng maraming outbreaks, epidemics at pagkamatay ng ating mga kababayan bagong strain ng dengue virus, magre-resign po ako sa Kongreso.
The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority or MMDA will resume the dry run for the implementation of the provincial bus ban on 1 week from now. There will be no penalties to be imposed yet on bus drivers who will not comply with the traffic policy during the dry run. Joan Nano tells us why.
To identify the actual effect on traffic of the implementation of the provincial bus ban in EDSA, the MMDA will resume on August 7 the dry run of the traffic policy. According to MMDA General Manager Jojo Garcia, the dry run will start at 4 a.m. There will also be window hours from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. when provincial buses are allowed to use EDSA.
Kaya tayo magda-dry run to see kung may pagkukulang pa. Ano bang pagkukulang? Let's say dumating yung provincial buses, kulang pala yung city buses natin.
During the dry run, provincial buses coming from the north will have to load and unload their passengers in the Valenzuela Interim Terminal, while those coming from the south will use the Santa Rosa Laguna Interim Terminal and the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange or PITX. The MMDA has talked with the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board to extend the franchises of city buses for them to provide proper transfer of passengers who were going to EDSA. The MMDA also clarified they will not yet penalize bus drivers who will not comply since this is only a dry run of the policy. The Provincial Bus Operators Association vowed to adhere with the government's move but insists they are not the cause of the monster traffic on the major thoroughfare.
Kung i-implement nila ang dry run na ito, napakalaking problema at perwisyo sa lahat ng mananakay ng provincial bus. Hindi kami ang cause ng traffic.
The provincial bus operators are still hopeful the Supreme Court will rule in favor of the suspension of the provincial bus ban. The local chief executives of Quezon City and Pasay City, for their part, have both confirmed they are committed in the closure of provincial buses located in EDSA within their localities.
Sabi ko nga, pag nagbigay na nga sa akin ng notice, on the same day, papasara ko na nga lahat ng mga terminal. Kaya ko pong gawin yan eh.
Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Makati City.
The Provincial Police Director of Negros Oriental has been ordered relieved of his duties amid the spate of killings in the province. In a statement, PNP spokesperson Brigadier General Bernard Banac confirmed that Negros Oriental Provincial Director Colonel Raul Taraca has been relieved from his position to give way to an impartial probe on possible lapses by his administration in light of several high-profile killings in the province for the past several days. Banac added that Police Regional Office 7 Brigadier General Dibold Sinas will designate an officer in charge in the said police office. In the past few days, a string of executions was reported in Negros Oriental, including the slaying of 4 policemen in Ayungon town by suspected rebels. The relief order was issued after PNP Chief Police General Oscar Albayalde ordered for the deployment of more than 300 members of the Special Action Force to the Negros Island to help maintain peace and order in the area. The National Trades Union Congress Health in Singapore confers another Gold Award to Members Church of God International for the organization's continued volunteerism and support to elder care. Queenie Rivera will tell us why.
It is true that the biggest challenge all OFWs have to face is being away from their loved ones, especially during occasions that are special for the family. But for Beverly Dizon, a Singapore-based Filipina who takes the time to volunteer in the various charity works organized or participated in by Members Church of God International or MCGI Singapore, there is no room for loneliness when doing good. The smiles of the people she is able to help replace her loneliness with happiness.
Yung sense of fulfillment na nakukuha ko tuwing mag-volunteer ako. Since wala ako sa Pilipinas, nakakaramdam ako ng pagka-miss dun sa parents ko, sa lolo at lola at sa iba pang mga kamag-anak. So tuwing mag-volunteer ako, napupunan yung pagka-miss ko sa kanila. Sa tuwing makikita ko yung ngiti nila, yung saya nila, at tuwing mayayakap ko sila, so parang nagawa ko na rin yun sa mga kamag-anak ko sa nasa Pilipinas.
To celebrate that spirit of volunteerism, NTUC Health in Singapore has recognized partners and volunteers like Beverly, who are the true champions behind the success of the elder care services the social enterprise has been spearheading since 1997. And as a token of victory, they handed a gold award to Members Church of God International for their years of services to the elderly being cared for in elder care facilities across the country. The CEO of NTUC Health, Ms. Chan Soo Yi, thanked their partners for the assistance and services dedicated to the beneficiaries of their programs and projects. With the help of Singapore government, NTUC Health provides elder care facilities to seniors from middle-income households that suffice their various needs, such as health care and recreational activities. Meanwhile, Robert Novoa of MCGI expressed the future plan of the group to continuously serve the true champion of all good works.
God is the champion of good works. MCGI Singapore is really thankful to be part of every good work through the supervision of Brother Eli and Kuya Daniel. Sa ngayon, ang pinaglilingkuran natin ay ang mga elderlies from NTUC Silver Ace, kung saan inaandugan natin sila ng awit, birthday gift, feeding program, at pinapasaya natin sila. And there is another branch of NTUC which is the nursing home. They are requesting our presence. With God's help, we will extend our volunteerism with them.
For the third time of receiving Gold Award
from NTUC Health Singapore, MCGI still humble themselves as instruments to reach out to one of the vulnerable citizens in the community, the elderly. For them, the award is the listing they have in return. What matters most for the volunteers is the companionship they have spent with the elderly. Queenie Rivera, UNTV News and Rescue, Singapore.
Welcome back to Y News. With the aim to encourage Manileños to stop vandalism, Mayor Isko Moreno is eyeing to put up a wall near the Bonifacio Shrine just across the Manila City Hall on which citizens can express their ideas. April Senadoza tells us why.
Manila City Mayor Isko Moreno calls on the public, especially the Manileños, stop vandalism to respect to the heroes who have contributions in the city. This comes after he found out a concrete structure with vandal marks beside the Bonifacio Shrine.
I think I don't see any joy or happiness that you will receive just messing around or messing up the walls, especially yung mga estatwa. Huwag na nila tayong galangin. Galangin na lang natin yung ating mga pamana.
To stop vandalism on the city landmarks and other installations, the mayor plans to put up a wall near the City Hall on which citizens can freely express themselves.
Yeah, freedom wall, hate wall, freedom wall, whatever you call it. A wall that where can they express themselves in an artistic manner or beliefs.
Mayor Isko has yet to launch a crackdown against vandalism in the city. The Manila City LGU has no plans to increase fines of violators who defaced public properties. April Senadoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
And for the news abroad, the estranged wife of the ruler of Dubai, one of the most high-profile leaders in the Middle East, has asked for a forced marriage protection order in a UK court. Sheikh Mohammed Al Maktoum's wife, Princess Haya bint Al Hussein, is the third female member of his court to apparently try to run away. Jovic Bermas will tell us why.
The wife of Dubai ruler Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum has applied for a forced marriage protection order in England's High Court in relation to one of her two children. Princess Haya bint Al Hussein, the 45-year-old Jordanian daughter of late King Hussein and half-sister to King Abdullah, also applied for a non-molestation order, which protects from harassment or threats. It was not clear who this order was in relation to. Princess Haya was seen leaving the High Court of England and Wales on Tuesday after she had also applied for wardship, which means a child is placed in the hands of the court for major decisions. A forced marriage protection order helps if someone says they have been forced into marriage or are already in a forced marriage, according to official British legal definitions. Representatives of the Sheikh did not immediately respond to requests for comment. The Dubai government media office declined to comment on a private matter that is being resolved in the court. The 70-year-old Sheikh, who is also vice president of the UAE, wed the princess, a former member of the International Olympic Committee, in 2004 in what was believed to be his sixth marriage. He has more than 20 children by different wives. Last September, Amnesty International said Sheikha Latifa bint Mohammed Al Maktoum, one of the Sheikh's daughters by a different wife, was believed to be held incommunicado in an undisclosed location in the UAE after being forcibly returned in March after fleeing Dubai with the help of friends on a boat that was later intercepted. The UAE Foreign Ministry said in December that Sheikha Latifa was home and living with her family, denying as false media reports, citing a widely circulated self-recorded video by Latifa accusing the family of abusing and restricting her. Jovic Bermas, UNTV News and Rescue.
The body of a billionaire Indian coffee magnate who went missing amid financial troubles was found by a river in southern India, police said Wednesday. VG Siddhartha, the founder of cafe coffee day chain that beats Starbucks at its own game in India, was last seen Monday next to the Nebrahati River near Mangaluru and reported missing soon after by his chauffeur. Authorities launched a major search operation and the fishermen found the body on the bank of the river. The body will be handed over to the tycoon's family after legal formalities are completed. Authorities said an investigation was underway to determine whether Siddhartha took his own life. Business has remained sluggish due to a recent wave of protests and violence erupting in Hong Kong as many shoppers and tourists are choosing to stay at home. The protests come at a time where the Special Administrative Region's economy is already slowing down. Ferdy Petalio explains why.
It's had a big impact. There's no point in opening with no business. Since the protests began in mid-June, our business had fallen by 30 to 40%. That's a serious hit.
Social unrest gripping Hong Kong has affected the city's economy and businesses. According to the Hong Kong Retail Management Association, large-scale rallies and protests have dampened Hong Kong's retail performance, with most of the members of the association recording a double-digit fall in business in the first week of June and July. The Hong Kong Federation of Trade Unions said the number of tour groups from the Chinese mainland declined by over a quarter in June, from a monthly average of 7,800 at the beginning of the year to 5,641 in June. And those from Southeast Asia, who account for nearly 20% of total foreign tourists, are estimated to have dropped by over half.
Hong Kong used to be a shopping paradise, but the violent incidents have stopped some of my friends from visiting Hong Kong, as they also read the relevant news.
The popular tourist destination is now finding itself being vacated by customers. Hotel occupancy rates fell as much as 20% in June from a year earlier and are expected to drop 40% in July year-on-year. Some shops decided to close temporarily, with some even emptying their shelves of stock. Meanwhile, the port city faces a sharp fall in trade, suffering its biggest annual drop in nearly 3.5 years. Imports also fell 7.5% last month, the seventh straight month of decline, and the exports are down by 9%. Ferdy Petalio, UNTV News and Rescue, Hong Kong.
The leader of a South Korean doomsday cult has been sentenced to 6 years in jail for holding her followers captive in Fiji and subjecting them to violence. Shin Ok-ju, who founded the Grace Road Church, convinced 400 people to move to Fiji in 2014, claiming they would be safe from imminent natural disaster. Once there, their passports were taken away and many of them reported being beaten to drive out evil spirits. On Monday, a South Korean court found Shin guilty on several criminal charges, including violence, child abuse, and fraud. 5 other church officials were also sentenced. Capital One said on Monday that 106 million people who had applied for credit cards in the United States and Canada had their personal data exposed. The breach stemmed from Capital One's decision to store data in Amazon.com Inc.'s cloud unit called Amazon Web Services, where a former employee named Paige Thompson managed to access its data. Kath Domaraos explains why.
The FBI has arrested and charged Paige Thompson, a 33-year-old former Amazon employee from Seattle, with stealing personal data belonging to more than 100 million Capital One customers. Thompson, through an alias, boasted about the hack on social media and appears to have obtained some information from several other companies, government entities, and educational institutions, according to court documents. The hacker did not gain access to credit card account numbers, but about 140,000 social security numbers and 80,000 linked bank account numbers were compromised, Capital One said. Other personal information access included phone numbers and credit scores. About 1 million social insurance numbers of the company's Canadian credit card customers were also compromised. Capital One said it identified the hack on July 19th.
It seemed like a fairly unsophisticated hack, especially the way it was executed, the way that this alleged perpetrator put the information out there on the web using her real name in this online forum and seemingly was trying to sell the information. I am surprised at the relative lack of sophistication here.
A representative for the U.S. Attorney's Office said it was not immediately clear what the suspect's motive was.
You should hear from Capital One if you're among the 100 million people compromised. But let's face it, whether it was this breach or Equifax, Marriott, Target, Home Depot, Yahoo, I think you should just assume your information's out there. Any number of these breaches could have snagged you.
The incident is expected to cost between $100 million and $150 million in 2019, mainly because of customer notifications, credit monitoring, and legal support, Capital One said. Analysts pointed to the legal expenses and possible regulatory penalties Capital One might face. By Tuesday morning, a class action lawsuit had been filed in federal court, and the state attorneys general of New York and Connecticut each said their offices would begin probing the matter. Amazon said its cloud unit that stored the data was not compromised in any way. Instead, it attributed the breach to a misconfiguration outside of the cloud. Capital One attributed the problem to an error on its own infrastructure. Kat Dumaraos, UNTV News and Rescue.
Seesaws have been installed on the US-Mexico border, allowing children from both countries to play together. The 3 seesaws were unveiled by 2 Californian professors, Ronald Rael and Virginia Sanfratello, on Monday. Professor Rael said seeing the project come to life was one of the most incredible experiences. The installation was also widely praised on social media. Caster Semenya will not compete at the World Championships in Doha after a Swiss court stood behind an IAAF rule that would require her to take testosterone-reducing medication. Vincent Arboleda reports why.
Double Olympic champion Caster Semenya will not defend her 800 meters title at the World Championships in September. This after the Swiss Federal Tribunal reversed a ruling that temporarily lifted the IAAF's testosterone regulations imposed on her, a spokesperson for the athlete said on Tuesday. Semenya is appealing the Court of Arbitration for Sports ruling that supported regulations introduced by the sport's governing body, the International Association of Athletics Federation. These say that XY chromosome athletes with differences in sexual development can race in distances from 400 meters to a mile only if they take medication to reach a reduced testosterone level. The IAAF has yet to respond to a request for comment. The South African had been given a reprieve last month by the Swiss Federal Tribunal, which temporarily lifted the IAAF's regulations from her until the final outcome of her appeal. Semenya ran the quickest ever 800 meters on United States soil at the Prefontaine Classic Diamond League meeting on June 30 in a time of 1 minute 55.70 seconds. She told reporters afterwards that she would not compete at the World Championships in Doha if barred from running her preferred distance, having earlier hinted she could enter longer races in the future that are not covered by the regulations. Vincent Arboleda, UNTV News and Rescue.
August marks the National Language Month in the Philippines. Find out some English words that surprisingly have Filipino translations. Mon Hokson has the details.
Just like our ever-changing world, the Filipino vocabulary is ever-evolving. Did you know that there are English words which have direct translations in the Filipino language? And the National Language Month kicks off tomorrow, the first day of August. Let's take a look at some of the most unusual Filipino words. You may not know it, but you use panghiso every single day. Panghiso in English is toothbrush. Pantablay happens to be one of your must-haves today. You need pantablay or charger for your electronic gadgets. Did you know that you always go to at least one pook sapot when you face your computer? Yes, you find information in a pook sapot or website with the use of the internet. Panginain, you cannot find relevant information without it. Panginain in English is a browser, a computer program used for accessing sites or information on a network, such as the World Wide Web. When you've got your passport and an air ticket, you must be ready to ride a salipapaw or airplane. Are you a person who is di mahapayang gatang? If you are moody, then you are one. Do you have your cartamoneta with you? Or probably you sometimes leave it at home. Or worse, misplace it. A cartamoneta is a wallet. Miktinig is used to transmit or recording sounds such as speech or music. In English, microphone. It's fun to know that many English words have their own translations in the Filipino language, proof that Filipino is a rich, diverse language. Mon Hokson, UNTV, News and Rescue.
And those are the reasons behind the news this July 31, 2019. On behalf of Angelo Castro III, I am Alex Baltazar. And before we close, we will recap with today's significant sound bites because we need to know, we will always ask why. Good evening.
It's very stealthy if you do that. So I agree with the Secretary Lorenzana. I think that should be the rule worldwide, that you should not turn off your AIS if you're passing through.
The work of the President is heavy enough that they should understand that it is his duty to do that, to erase any and all doubts on the regularity of these operations.
So no need to apologize or even to ordinary?
Certainly none.
Sabi ko nga, pag nagbigay na nga sa akin ng notice, on the same day, papasara ko na nga lahat ng mga terminal. Kaya ko pong gawin yan
2019, worldwide is really shaping up to be one of those high burden years for dengue.
Hindi ko po alam saan nanggagaling yung mga pronouncement na yun ng Department of Health. Sa buong mundo, wala pong bagong strain na dengue virus na nadidiskubre. Kung totoo na yung cause ng maraming outbreaks, epidemics at pagkamatay ng ating mga kababayan bagong strain ng dengue virus, magre-resign po ako sa Kongreso.